do like the Nyx Assassin. What a sick Nyx pick. Great versus the Ember, the Caudal, and the Weaver. Only one that it's kind of bad against is the Tusk, just because Tusk bops you. He pretty much just one-shots you unless you Carapace the Walrus Punch. You're probably going to go down very quickly. But at the same time, super sick pick. Not logical, Nyx. I can small
True.
violin, but at the same time, I feel like that hero's going to do exactly what they want. Does feel a little bit weird again with the Undying. It feels like we've got that same awkward lane situation where I think we're probably going to see the Nyx Assassin just go for a lot of creep cutting as opposed to just straight up laning. But again, we also have to see how that offlane Undying is going to play out. But I am still wondering if NoRunes actually feel like they need to fix anything. Not just that, but also we have seen the offlane Weaver many times from SA, whether or not it is going to be a Tusk 4 or a Coddle 4. Everything is a big question mark right now for NoRunes.
They can do a lot of shifting still. And if you're 5 rats, I don't really think you can afford to look too deeply into that at this point, right? There's just so many moving parts that nailing down anything in particular is still going to be incredibly difficult. But I guess we'll have to wait and see, because NoRunes, they're still taking some time, ET, thinking over this first ban of Phase 3. We finally do get to see it, and it is the Bat Rider. So
They're saying that
huh.
it's going to be a safe lane Shadow Fiend is what's happening with that ban. And okay, sure, that's one way that 5-Rat could go for it. And of course, 5-Rat and having last pick here do get the final say. It's where NoRunes can't be all in on any of their lanes. They have to move things around depending on how difficult the laning situation could be. But at the same time, 5-Rat also have to ban out and then think to themselves, okay, is it going to be a Tusk 5, a Weaver safe lane, and they're looking for an offlaner here? In which case, if they're just going to pick a plain old offlaner versus your Shadow Fiend carry, I feel like that puts a lot less pressure on Heiko. Heiko is just going to play whatever. I feel like we need an offlane hero on NoRunes. It does feel like they're lacking, I think, a big, beefy frontline guy, just somebody to stay up in a lot of these team fights, and of course, somebody to capitalize off a lot of the damage that the Coddle and the Ember can do from that backline. And they ban Ursa because you kind of have to split some bans here. It's where I think everybody is so flexible in this draft. It's kind of funny to look at because anybody can be a core, anybody can really be a support in this situation.
Hmm. See NoRunes, they follow up the Bat ban with the Death Prophet, so they really are kind of full send on this is a DNM Shadow Fiend, which, the more I think about it, ET, the more I'm sort of excited if that is going to be the case. Not because I think it's better than mid, I just think it's going to be interesting. Position 1 Shadow Fiend is not something that we really saw at all for a long time. I mean, Shadow Fiend in any position was not something we saw for a long time. So it's the last game of the day. Why the hell not? Try something a little bit funky here. And well, speaking of funky, what is the play from NoRunes? 5-Rat did just ban out another carry, taking away the Troll Warlord. Fair enough. Now, what is the call from NoRunes' side?
Yeah, and 5-Rat, they are certain that they're looking for a mini hero, saying that it is not the Weaver. And of course, if it is going to be a Weaver in the offlane, you can only imagine that they're going to pair it up with the Tusk, and Hannes is going to be running that choice. But I don't know if I'm so certain, and we will have to see here. And really, if Mini is looking for a hero, all he needs is something that's going to lane well versus, or not even lane well, but just match up well versus the Shadow Fiend, and then he's going to be pretty happy. And he ends up going
Okay.
for the Wraith King. So I think this does almost lean more into, it could also just be a Heiko Tusk, and then they run Hannes on the Weaver, because Hannes has played a whole hell of a lot of Weaver. But again, it's hard to put your finger on any of these heroes. And it's also interesting to see 5-Rat give up on the Ember Spirit counter when they could just go for it. And it does make me wonder what kits would want to play in this situation if it isn't that hero. Because I feel like a part of me says, well, if DNM needs to switch it up, this could be DNM's choice as well. And there you go. It is DNM's choice. DNM Luna, Speed Undying, Kit Shadow Fiend, and you still have Ember versus SF. I don't know what happened with those bans. They kind of just surprised me with how random or seemingly random they felt. And Surem will lock in the Coddle, so it will be an offlane Weaver, but
Hmm.
weird stuff. Very, very weird stuff. And Merlin's a crab.
Oh yeah, nice. He's got the crab set. Not a bad look for him. But yeah, that was just a very strange choice, really, overall. We had, I think, I forgot the teams at this point, but we had one draft earlier that was kind of similar, not in terms of the hero picks, but in terms of everyone was kind of hiding what they were doing, and then they just picked entirely standard at the very end, and you just kind of wondered, what was all the sneakiness about? You didn't really do anything, but in fairness, that's how it goes sometimes. You try to do something thinking your opponents are going to fall into a trap, and then they just don't, so you say, okay, forget it, let's just do what we planned to do from the start.
Yeah, and I'm still scratching my head. I don't know who I like. Of course, I like that Kits is playing the Shadow Fiend versus the Ember Spirit, but that's where I do wonder if this carry matchup is going to matter a lot more because DNM does just get to pick the Luna straight up into the Wraith King, and we'll have to see. Last time Mini played the Wraith King, didn't really like his play too much because he just ended up not buying a Blink Dagger for what felt like years, and then the rest of his team kind of fell apart. But this is a game where I would not be surprised if we see him just get it immediately after the Desolator. Because you've got an offlane Weaver. You need to make plays. You need to open up the map with your teammates. And then I think 5RAT might have a few problems. But we'll have to see. And again, looking over at that Undying, let's see if speed can keep up with it, or if that mana cost really makes that hero that much more difficult to play. Because at the end of the day, you do get Undying into a strength hero, which typically is always going to be at the Undying's major advantage. But again, we'll have to see if that drawback of the mana is enough to make it feel easy enough for the Wraith King to get a lot out of the lane.
Well, go. Last game of the day. A shot now for 5RAT. Try and salvage some points here. They lost the first match, but a 1-1 split still serves them quite nicely, keeps them in the upper section of the standings here. Just over halfway through the group stage. Meanwhile, for NoRunes, I mean, a 2-0 sweep. Actually, I think a 2-0 sweep might just put them over 5RAT, or at least tie them if they can pull it off. So, are looking for that advantageous position as well as Mini. A little bit of an awkward one. There's gonna be the stun. Body blocks, lots of body blocks. Mini turns around for a stun of his own, but that's not going to do any good. First blood, and Speed did manage to grab it. So, well, that creates a very kind of rough situation there in that bottom lane. Your Undying's off to a stronger start, and the Wraith King, well, comes back to lane without having spent any of his items at least, but that's... Oh, Hane? Is it going to be the exact same play? They get in front of him. There's the body blocks. What a familiar story. And this one will go to Kits. So they let Speed get one, they give Kits the other. And, well, that's not exactly the way that you were hoping this would go if you're NoRunes. And Hane, listen, the first death on Mini, that's unfortunate. The second death, your buddy just died 10 feet away from you. You probably shouldn't be there anymore.
Yeah, a little bit of greed, and with all the mangoes that everybody's picked up, they get to trade across the board, and then everybody gets to walk back to lane with not really missing any of their mana. I think Speed ended up being the gifter. I think he's going to have a few more coming out on the courier, and again, we'll see if that ends up being quite the cost
That's a
for the
soul ring.
Undying in lane. But yeah, no, from that first blood gold, maybe that's how he ends up fixing the hero, but we'll have to see.
I mean, yeah, that can work out, right? He gets the bonus health, uses it for more soul ring, just spam the hell out of it, and... Well, speaking of spamming, yeah, Sarem is gonna hurt him a little bit here with the Illuminates, but this is always the thing with the Keeper of the Light. Every single Cuddle kind of knows how to avoid it 9 times out of 10, but you need to make sure you're not pushing the actual wave itself with that Illuminate spam, otherwise your Wraith King's not going to be very happy with you.
Yeah, you end up getting inadvertently a lot of last hits, and it's very important to make sure that those are actually connecting. Otherwise, it can be pretty difficult to trade on that hero. Your right clicks are quite weak, but at the same time, should be pretty happy. Should maybe see Sparks fly once that Sparked Carapace is online. We can stun both these laners, then maybe set up for a cheeky Soul Rip, or even just keeping them locked down enough for the Tombstone to matter. But bot lane should be pretty quiet.
We'll check back in on that a little bit later. Meanwhile, see what's going on up top here, because this is a lane that can maybe put together some aggression on the NoRunes side, right? The Weaver typically uses Shikuchi to, when he's not securing last hits, just kind of poke and prod at the other side, and if somebody's out of position or too low on health, Tusk is the quintessential position 4, right? He is the guy who's going to punish you with the damage in the lockdown.
Yeah, and we'll see if AB1 can maintain sentry control, as that's always the most
There's the
important part. As
shards.
yeah, level 2 on Hannes and so much damage. He's got the stick, but one hit. Nope. Hannes doesn't make it. Okay, the dual breath saves him.
Okay. That was an interesting one from Heiko, because I feel like he might have just kept on going to get off that last attack. Maybe finish the kill that way, but decided it wasn't worth it. Doesn't want to get too far forward. If he takes 1 or 2 tower shots, then he's in danger himself, so play it safe. DNM doesn't have the highest region in the world. In fact, you see AB1 passing him tangos at this stage, so you can keep him sort of shut off and pushed away from this wave. That's going to honestly be almost as good as killing him.
Nope, certainly so, and instead, go for AB1. Dual breath, though,
Swarm,
makes it pretty
there's the
hard.
shard. Yeah, as you say, they're not quite getting in onto him as fast as they want, but I mean, at this point, they're basically entirely out of regen in this lane. So the bully tactics haven't netted them a kill yet, but if it creates a more favorable laning situation, then by all means, keep on going for it. Is AB1, does he get the pull? Yeah, most of it. Doesn't get the flag bearer, but a little bit of an awkward one. I think you'd either want the full pull or a half pull. Instead, he's kind of in between.
Yeah, didn't get the strongest of creeps either, but they'll do a good enough job at making sure that wave dies, or at least mostly dies, but the Hannes is just looking to sap the XP. DM gets a few last hits in the meantime, though.
Merlin, listen, I don't know about this. That's still a full health Ember Spirit and kits. Would have to get the entire raise combo down. Although, okay. At that point, they're just trying to secure some runes. But there's going to be a split on the water runes. However, you did force Sarem to take it instead of the Ember Spirit, so no refill on that bottle, and that's going to be a minor win, but a win all the same if you're 5-rat.
No, for sure.
Goes on here. Sarem, yeah, he gives up on the chase at a certain point, but they're both going back to the same place, so realistically speaking, don't really know what is Merlin doing. He's trying to get a high 5 is what he's doing, but Sarem not going to give him the high 5 up in the top lane, though. Heiko does get taken down. Maybe one gets a little bit of a nice play there. It does cost him his life, but maybe DNM can turn this into a trade. Is he actually faster, though? I don't think he is, and, well, now it doesn't matter because he went the wrong way.
Yeah, DNM guesses wrong.
On
Might
it.
re-walk into him, though.
Hmm.
He knew he didn't have enough mana for the TP, and yeah, there you go.
Hey.
DNM gets a twofer. Not a double kill, but definitely feels quite nice in the lane, and all of that was just him hitting level 4, and I think level 2 dual breath coming in from the Jakiro, and punishing Heiko, who, in going in the 1-1-1 build, is still on that 15-second CD for Shikuchi. Hard punish of the Weaver.
Able to get it up to level 2 now, but at the time, just a little bit of a difference in terms of those few seconds put him in danger. And now, he's getting hit up again. He's not going to get taken down this time, but he doesn't have a support here either, as the Tusk actually rotated mid. He's got Snowball. They could pull kits a little bit further forward. There it is. He's in the river. They're going to go for it. Snowball connects. There's the tag team. There's the shards, but look at Merlin coming in. That buys time for the Requiem channel. That's Hane who goes down. That was an Illuminate coming out there on the very back line from Sarem, but it wasn't enough damage.
Man, you don't see that every day of the week, but hey, it works out. And the favor continues as kids get to haste rune as well. It's quite nice, and you don't always have to get Requiem of Souls, and a lot of people don't even get the skill point, but in doing so, free kill for kits and gets to have an even nicer lane, as of course, Ember versus SF. It's not very fun. He's just kind of dealing with it.
Oh,
And with
Heiko.
Tusk being out, he's dead. Yeah.
Oh, that's
No
just a
support.
little too much. Level 2 dual breath. What a spell, but nicely done by 5-rat. They're up 6-1 now through the first 6.5 minutes. This has been pretty impressive considering, well, Hane's been moving. Sarem maybe once or twice left the lane, so NoRunes are moving across the map, but 5-rat are still managing to beat them through their own rotations.
Yeah, for sure. And I think AB1 especially, just making sure that he has that sentry control. It is so important, and it ends up panning out. But yeah, look towards bottom with the Hasten of Kits. They place the ward. I think Surem is just simply dead. Probably just 2 raises. Ooh.
Kits is gonna go back for it. No, he's not. Wow, okay. Still
Well,
had the haste.
Kits low.
Whoops. Style points don't count if you don't actually get the kill, unfortunately, but hey, whatever. He's back to lane. Question is, where is his opponent? Because Guts is not here. He's in the north side jungle stealing a stacked camp. Well, AB1's going to spot him, but by the time he tries to do anything, he's just going to jump back mid.
Yeah,
And right into
just
Kits.
yeah, eats 2 raises. Not very fun. He is able to just do the Remnant TP back. Has a few more resources to play around, but here we go. We need huge rotations for the runes here. If SF doesn't get this next rune, of course he's all right for now, but let's see. Does Kits get lucky again? And look at that.
He's just going to
That's
channel the
unfortunate.
Requiem. Okay. Making sure Guts... he didn't have a Remnant. I don't think Kits knew that at the time, so... he didn't technically have to use the ult, but better safe than sorry.
That's pretty sad for Guts. You've had to use, I think, 2 or 3 of your remnants, not aggressively, just for regen instead. And now you're getting your ward taken away from you. You're getting stunned up. You're getting bullied. It is a lot of focus to put on the mid lane, though, and not a lot of focus actually falling into mini. So your Wraith King, who did get bullied out of lane pretty early, because again, Undying is quite the strong laner, even though there were those mana changes. You also aren't prosecuting him. He is just able to jungle pretty calmly.
Yeah, just hanging out, taking camps, working his way towards the early armlet. Of course, here is the thing. You look at Mini's net worth, right? It's not bad in an objective sense, but you compare it to what every other core on 5RAT's getting, and he's behind. So even a lane that goes relatively okay for him is kind of countered out by the fact that everyone on 5RAT just ran away with it.
Yeah, and a part of that is just them choosing to go for the Wraith King. They effectively drafted to lose 2 lanes and then draw the final one as Surem gets taken down, and Speed does not care about a level 8 Ember Spirit. That is not something that's really going to startle him. And Guts, all he can do is cut the wave, make sure Speed isn't just A-clicking the tower, but this is not fun, and Speed is actually a huge problem that NoRunes don't really have a fantastic way of dealing with. Maybe once Heiko gets a few more levels and the Swarm is an answer, you can see the Weaver come over, but Heiko's also just itemizing to be a carry right now. He has Falcon Blade, he has Maelstrom components, and then he's got a BKB queued up. He is not looking to be anybody's friend right now. No Vessel, no Yules. Heiko, ooh.
Just making it out for now. In the meantime, there was an attempt mid onto the Shadow Fiend. They actually brought the Wraith King over to try and get it, but it was a very nice play out from the Nyx Assassin to get a 2-man impale. Uh-oh. Impales Heiko. That's neat. That got you away, but it didn't get you any more health, so he's still got to retreat, and... okay, first time lapse used. It keeps him alive, but 5RAT still sort of shove him away.
Yeah, quite a few plays are failing right now from NoRunes, and I think this 2K lead is going to more or less stay the same for a while until we see perhaps a tower go down, in which case it could either grow or shrink, maybe by just a few inches, but that's where I think 5RAT, they are extremely happy with the way that this laning stage has gone. Still need to get a few more levels on their supports. I think Merlin's got the tome coming out, and then he can start hunting around for his Vendetta, but that is the way that they kill this Ember Spirit bottom, or honestly, Heiko top. They have to reestablish some sentry control because they are not really sneaky in the lane with the Weaver, just with all of the sentries placed beforehand, so you kind of know what's going on. But if you can get that back, then both side lanes are pretty easy picks.
Oh. It's resumed. See how things go here. We'll see what Mini queues up actually after his armlet. Okay. After his armlet and his phase boots, because, yeah, that's going to be pretty straightforward as his next pickup. But in terms of a major item, we'll have to look and see, because that could give us an indicator ET of what NoRunes are thinking right now on their timings. If he goes for something fight-oriented, then... see, maybe they're looking to make a play, but a play with what, right? Because Guts is still kind of broke, and Maybe you use the Weaver's damage if he does have the Maelstrom up and running, but that's still kind of iffy too.
Yeah, it just feels like right now NoRunes is just trying to solve the fact that they lost 2 of their lanes. I think the Ember Spirit farming bottom is just because he's the only hero that can farm and play against that Undying, even though speed is still being incredibly obnoxious. But they're not exactly losing, and okay, he's healing, but he's gonna come back, and there's that Nyx Assassin.
Does he see? He didn't. No, he didn't actually see it beforehand, so that's a bit unfortunate. If he had stepped a little bit further forward, I think he would have spotted the Remnant, and then they could have set up for that perfectly. But as it stands, Guts gets to live, but this is still not an ideal situation. He's just trying to be down here fighting for farm, and that's kind of the situation across the board here for NoRunes, which kind of shifts that pressure a little bit. Now we start looking to 5RAT as the squad that would be making that next move. As you know, Merlin still hasn't left. Okay, never mind. Now he's TPing himself top. What are they looking for? They've got eyes on Hane, and they catch up to him. Kits is coming in. He's got a haste rune. Angling's a little bit weird here with the high ground, but they are going to catch up to him eventually, and the Tusk should be taken down.
Yeah, was trying to get any vision of a neutral camp, but simply doesn't work out for him. But you create a little safety pocket in the bottom lane now. I'm not sure if they scouted Merlin actually at that top tower, so have to be a little bit careful. The ward will certainly help, but Echo's been a little bit more successful when it comes down to pushing these towers, where Speed's hero is not as useful when it comes to that. And Merlin, they saw him use the Vendetta, and he will start to walk away, but again, the Weaver is just putting a lot more pressure on these buildings than really anybody else has been able to manage, and during all this time, Mini has just been farming and has closed the gap between him and DNM pretty much entirely, just farming very quickly with the skeletons and the armlet. To
We
be
do
soft,
see,
though.
yeah, the fight breaking out. They're looking for the Ember Spirit. Can they bring him down in time? Yes, they can. Guts falls. That's really going to force anyone else up here to fall back. Heiko doesn't want to leave, but tower's now been denied as well, so he really doesn't have any reason to be up here anymore. And going back to the point before the team fight broke out there, you see Mini looking for the Deso, so they are gonna look to try and get themselves going, get some fights working here. You get the Wraith King involved. He's going to be hitting the point where he can maybe get level 2 and ult as well for that fight, so that timing is looking okay for them. They just got to survive until then.
Yeah. And once he has it, we'll have to see if he keeps to it as, oh, you're cliffed. Well, there's the knockback.
Can actually kill him, though. He's not easy to bring down, and here come the reinforcements. Starting to look a little bit rough. Guts dancing around it.
So tanky.
Just won't go down, and look at the Impale connecting onto 2. Sarem not dead, though. In fact, Merlin's the one to die, but he's dead to a neutral creep. But somebody... There's no Force Staff. Speed's still stuck up here. He has no TP either, so he just gets to stand here and wait for death, I suppose.
Oh.
Nope, somebody does push him down, but now Speed is going to try and force a fight, but I don't know if this is going well. Kits' ult misses onto pretty much everything. They got to run. That kind of got awkward. They were doing better when he was on the cliff than when he got off it.
Yeah, and I think a large part of that is just with how many units were actually still alive that he was able to soul rip from, and he will be able to limp away, but yeah, very awkward situation. Would have loved to kill
Guts.
him. Oh, Guts.
I don't
Madman.
know about that. He's going to fall back. Jesus. All right, he had the Remnant the whole time. He was safe. The amount of stun lock they would have needed is higher than I think anything they had at their disposal, but still, that's a bold move.
Nope, is very bold, but yeah, look at the Tusk. Very deep behind enemy lines, and Merlin actually pinged him out, and yeah, we'll get the D ward pretty much immediately, but the fours will nod to each other and then walk away from that situation. 5RAT are still struggling to find their next objective, though. It's not really quite clear what their plan is. Right now, they're smoking and looking most likely for that Wraith King. A Wraith King who is also holding a skill point just in case, and Sarem, okay, he just stumbled into the big gang.
Do that on the tombstone here as well, so we're gonna presumably look for a push onto the tower. New creep wave comes up.
Dead.
Guts is trying, but there's nothing you can do, yeah. Okay. They do pop the glyph. They will get it back when this tower goes down, so I suppose don't really lose too much, but Just a stall tactic. Not really going to set up for any sort of actual defense there.
No, definitely not. And we'll have to see if we see a change up from any of these NoRunes cores. Right now, they don't exactly feel too pressured, and we do see a slight change. I like that Heiko is actually going back for the Vessel, but it's not that Vessel rush, so I don't know if I like it all too well. But in the river, Merlin gonna get stunned. They're both supports on 5RAT, caught out yet again here. Very unfortunate. Maybe everyone gets the deny or the trade on Hannes, but I think he should be able to walk this one out. Oh,
Oh,
nope, just barely died.
okay. That makes that a
Burninated.
little bit better. 2 for 1 instead of just 2 dead for nothing, but still a solid play there for NoRunes to make that happen. Kits, what are you doing? Stop that. Stop that right now. God. It's just, it plays across the entire map, too. Like, he's just faking out the Requiem, not really doing anything at the moment, waiting for his creep wave, but... Well, while that goes down, if you're NoRunes... What are you looking at now? I mean, you just found a nice play. Oh, nice play in that river. This is awkward, though. Heiko's getting hit up. Does he ult? No, he doesn't. Didn't have it. Speed's able to finish him off with the Soul Rip.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him, probably would have survived if he had that VIP booster in, but not going to worry about it too much. But I think the issue right now for 5RAT is that they don't really have anything to do with their Luna right now. Getting that mid tower with the rest of the team just means that they don't really have that much to play for, where with NoRunes, they just got the Deso onto Mini, and whether or not they try to force that issue before or after he gets his Blink Dagger, we'll have to see. But you're coming into a lot of useful items pretty soon here on both sides. Kids already has his BKB, Ember has his. Just feels like everybody is ready for this next big team fight, aside from DNM, who has to be very careful, because I feel like NoRunes pretty easily, especially during the daytime, can just smoke into his neck of the woods and catch him out in the triangle where none of his team is or will really be playing. It's also where NoRunes will struggle to get any more buildings. I think unless they find a huge set of pickoffs, that mid tower is kind of difficult. As Speed in the river, in a dangerous spot, but not dangerous enough. And this is where I think a lot of this game is going to be kind of stuck from progressing. And it's funny because Speed is not doing the normal build on Undying. He has effectively just turned himself into another support here, and it's actually going to be 5RAT that forces Roche. There's the Tomb, but...
Alright. Tomb and Flesh Golem, they're all in for this. Merlin, meanwhile, acting as a distraction. How quickly can they actually take this, though? Yeah, not quickly enough. They're starting to fall back. Kits is going to channel out the ult. It does clip right on the edge, and Guts is the one to get taken down. Big start to the fight, but they need to be able to close it out. They're looking for the supports. They get one. Sarem should be falling as well as Kits grabs the double, and Mini has got a TP away. AB1. He kind of sidestepped a little bit there, and I think that might have actually cost him. The formation time was a little bit too long.
Yeah, but with that, they get Roche. They're going to get the Aegis now, probably over to Kits. Yeah, just not DNM's time just yet, but yeah, very peculiar. Without that fear landing like that, of course, everything looks different. You don't have enough disables on 5RATFORCESTAFF to actually keep anyone around long enough, but with that connection, they get the 2 kills on probably the 2 hardest kills that they needed there, and especially striking before Guts has his BKB. Ember Spirit was helpless. He didn't get the Remnant out. He kind of was very passive in reacting, but also just so much time spent underneath 5RAT vision. Kind of weird. And Speed, with the Vessel, they've got a lot of damage here. Neither of these heroes are the Aegis carrier as well, as Kits walks over, but seems a little too late. Might get the kill on the Hannes, but he already got Speed. What does Heiko do?
Oh, they dusted him.
Dies.
That is awkward, and Guts just got hit up as well, but he's able to jump to his Remnant, so... Speed dies. AB1 goes down as well, so you do find yourself a couple of kills there, but 5RAT traded out, and I think very importantly, even though the net worth kind of favors NoRunes, that was the first time in quite a while that we've seen DNM get involved really in any way, and I mean, he grabbed himself a little bit of gold, and now he's got some more space to work with here, because NoRunes can't go hunting for him until their lineup's back online.
Yeah, which means that the NM gets to walk towards a lot of those item timings. Of course, went for the pretty standard Manta build at this point, where you just get to push out a wave while you're also farming everything else. And then I wonder what we are going to see. If it is just plainly going to be a BKB, or if he goes for one of those super stat heavy items. I feel like Scotty is also quite great this time around. Just anything that's going to give you that slower lockdown against the Wraith King come second life, or even just come after the Blink Dagger. But Mini does have his Blink Dagger, so NoRunes can just simply go for a very easy kill. Probably just a smoke between Mini and really anybody on the team. Could result in a pretty nice pick as long as they're not breaking on Merlin. But Nyx Assassin also has a Blink Dagger and shows it off on Hannes.
Don't know what this really turns into, though, because Merlin can't keep his opponent locked down long enough for teammates to arrive, but look at the way NoRunes are sort of getting pulled into this. There's still the angle. They've got that sort of, well, they had that sort of concave around their opponents. Now they're looking to take advantage of it. They'll throw down the tombstone, but yeah, the trap gets sprung maybe a little bit too late. They've kind of lost that wraparound at this point. But look at the way they're going forward. They're still looking for it, but that does mean Kits gets stunned up, but he has the Aegis. Even if they kill him, they'd have to get him a second time, as that Requiem is pushed back a little bit, but it did still land on a Mini, so that's going to be his reincarnation being forced out. But can they do anything with this, really? NoRunes are just kind of falling back, and Hane, not really sure what he was trying to do there, but he gets caught right in the middle of everyone, gets taken down, and 5RATs have a ready-made push mid. They've got all the heroes here, DNM included. They're going to push onto the tier 2 tower, and NoRunes, do you want to try and defend this? You may not have a choice, because Heiko's pushing in. He does have ult,
Being
though.
so annoying. It's just slight spam with this DD rune, and
Uh-oh.
Guts, has BKB, but doesn't get it off, maybe.
Well, he tried to throw the Remnant out first, maybe hoping to do that and then go for the BKB, but it was so slow that it wouldn't have taken him that far anyway. At least he doesn't use the BKB charge and then still die, right? That's the worst case scenario, but you pop it earlier, you might just not die at all.
No, it's a tough call, a very hard decision to make, and for a while, and in these extended fights, I think Surem and Guts are doing all of the heavy lifting. It's all of their damage that ends up breaking out and keeping these like super extended fights going. But they've got Mantas, they've got BKBs, they're going to have Force Staffs. Everyone even has a mech. It just feels like 5RAT are surviving through it all, and a large part of that is because Speed has itemized in the not carry way that he has. He's not looking for Echo Saber and Shard. He's not looking for BKB. He really is just an Undying with a whole bunch of net worth. So it just kind of works out as Kits and Merlin kill Heiko in the top lane. And sure, Aegis is about to time out in 20 seconds, but you have a full Silver Edge on Kits? My goodness, it just feels like 5RAT are winning everything right now, and there's not really that much coming out from NoRunes, and again, it's this ranged offlaner that isn't really able to make plays. I think backed off by losing, again, 2 of the 3 lanes, and then the 1 lane that ended up being fine ended up being a draw. Just doesn't feel like NoRunes have enough to press the advantage right now.
That's beautifully done by Kits there as well. Times it out, kills the tower, pops the Shadow Blade so the tower shot doesn't hit, and then the Aegis just heals him all the way up. So maximum efficiency out from the Shadow Fiend. Silver Edge completed now as well, so I mean, I guess everyone other than the Wraith King, I suppose, is just going to get instantly destroyed if the SF hits you, and even Mini. He's not going to die instantly in one hit or anything, but that's going to chunk out a huge portion of his HP.
Yeah, and we're not seeing any corners cut either. DNM has a full BKB. I do wonder what we're going to see out of him next. If it's just a Satanic, it's really no bad option. Could also see him going for a Butterfly and just making it impossible for Mini to really do anything to him, aside from, I guess, turn his build around and go for an MKB, but that's quite the awful feeling. And mid doesn't get the connection on the Impale, but now it just feels like with the Aegis timed out, we're just going to wait for that next Aegis before 5RAT really do anything too crazy. In the meantime, just outfarm their opponents as they kind of continuously have been. Just feels like NoRunes aren't really getting them much gameplay going on right now. They're being very passive.
Yeah, their opponents aren't really coming after them. They're not really feeling like making any plays either, but you don't farm faster. in this scenario, right? I mean, maybe they're looking for one or two big items, right? Mini's so close to his BKB, so maybe they're just trying to stall it out to that point, but that has to be the hope. You give them the benefit of the doubt there, because if their plan is just, hey, let's see how long we can farm for, you will not scale better than those two cores on the 5RAT side.
Yeah, just feels a little weird, but you know, 5RAT just very simply continue to maintain and grow their lead. And that's an Ag Shard now, finished up on kits if he wants it. Could decide to greed out and instead wait for Roche to gift him it instead, assuming that they get the Roche, but no, this game continues to grind to a halt. Haven't had a kill in probably 2 or 3 minutes now. Even the pick off top was another kill after a pretty large pause, and maybe once Heiko gets either the Gleipnir or a BKB, the Weaver will feel more confident in fighting, but that is really what it feels like right now. NoRunes are just simply not confident to take any engagement, and 5RAT, they're kind of looking for something right now, but is really more so just breaking TPs, catching heroes. Merlin tries for the TP, but instead, everybody TPs out. The rat play even works. They get a tier 2 tower, and if Heiko escapes as well, well, okay. Claw back a little bit of that net worth, but again, the motto just seems to be avoid fight, never take a clean fight against your opponents here.
I mean, buying them some time, but again, time exactly for what? If they have a clear-cut plan, like, okay, Mini's got BKB, now let's look for something, then sure. Or, I guess we're 45 seconds away from Roshan, so that could be the play for them, but I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I am very interested to see what they're going to do, because at this point, you desperately hope that there is a plan, and that this is not just a stall tactic for its own sake.
Yeah, in the early Roche, of course, got to heavily favor 5RAT. You're not going to see, I think, any item come out of Heiko in time. He's so close to the Gleipnir, but Roche will just be online before then. Where 5RAT are just ready to go. An AB1, Human Ward, hovering so close to and around the pit. See if he checks for that earliest timer. Again, it's hard to always expect the very fast Roche timers, but always feels nice when you do get those early positions, and I think they'll turn around now. And yep, NoRunes. Is it contest time? Is it forfeit time? What do we see here? Because an Aegis push with the Luna, that is going to be knocking on your front door if you decide to do nothing.
Well, and he just took a tower, but he has to, yeah, he's got to rejoin his teammates. He did TP to the base, but that means he is lagging behind on this play, and Roche is already dropping. The shards, though, do come into the pit, so 5RAT now very much aware that their opponents know they're in here, but they might just stick it, try and finish it off, but Hane, oh, it's a little bit too soon. That is so unfortunate. He was close. The timing was just not quite there as he gets taken down, and 5RAT have what they wanted. Right, they got the Aegis. I don't know if anybody was able to grab the shard. Did Kits take the shard from Roche, or did he buy that? I didn't really see.
Yeah, he caught the shard,
Okay.
so the greed pays off. Doesn't get punished for it, and no creep cutting either. They weren't able to split the waves or fight for the Roche. It just feels like 5RAT kind of have it at this point. Kits is about to have a full Satanic built up. Of course, got the shard, has that guaranteed crit, has even more to play for. DNM's got a Scotty in queue. The moment that NoRunes decide to use their glyph is the moment that they're going to lose every single building. Guts himself is even just going for a halberd to try and delay it, and well, aggressive Force Staff. Nice play from DNM, pikes the Coddle out of the base, and well, Coddle, that's your best base defender. And sure, they've got the double glyph here, but I feel like NoRunes are just about to lose everything.
Well, they're sure as hell going to lose this tier 3 tower. There is absolutely nothing that stops that. Do they use the second glyph? Yes, they do. Trying to buy time. But time for what? The cores aren't even in the base right now. Mini is pushing.
Backdoor will kick in. 5RAT skip a step. They allow the split push to come through, which will eventually cog up DNM here. And I don't know if they can actually get exactly through. With the Mom, I guess it's barely enough damage, but if Coddle decides to Blinding Light, then yeah, they lose all of that progress that they just gained. And it's close. Surem is super low already on that Carapace, but this does not feel the nicest from 5RAT. I feel like they can just go for the reset instead. Guts is getting away with a little bit too much time here, as well as Mini. They kind of have to just say, we need to find a wave and track it all the way back to the base. Hane is just killing himself, though. That's kind of nice, but
And Merlin, he spotted Guts. Can't really get the kill himself, but reinforcements don't actually arrive in time. So, well, NoRunes really should have lost a lot more than they did, ET, but some good fortune and maybe a mistake or two on the part of their opponents has them still in defendable position, right? Although, with the way DNM's surging forward, this is actually a little iffy. He's got BKB and Aegis, but this isn't the way you want to spend your first life. He's just going to go down immediately. That's a little bit awkward. Gleipnir comes in, rooting up a couple of heroes as well, but they did get through the reincarnation. So the Wraith King doesn't have a second life to work with. He does have a BKB, however. Pops it immediately, and now is where the Tombstone comes into play. So many zombies forming up on this lineup that is going to push them back.
Yep, and of course, with the tier 3 gone, the glaives start bouncing, Luna starts to do Luna things, and even though the Tombstone's set up on him, they do need to be slightly cautious, but Minion without the BKB, your Wraith King can't blink in anymore. And a BKB forced from Kits, okay. They're getting some of these forces out of 5RAT. This isn't the worst case scenario,
punch.
okay?
Snowball. Snowball's actually going onto the Jakiro instead, so he's making his way all the way out to the back line, but that's not really going to matter. Hane will still fall. Now Guts, he's going to be able to jump away. Oh my god, that was close.
But back onto mid. No BKB now. You need to get in there to stop the Luna, and okay.
Oh,
What a
two-man impale. Impale into Ice Blast, or Ice Path, rather. It doesn't matter what it's called. It still sets up for the kill. Heiko dead. There goes the Wraith King, but he was able to get his reincarnation back up. The problem is Guts is stuck in the middle of this. The Eclipse is actually not hitting all that well, but Kits comes in with the crit, and who cares about the Eclipse? When you can crit for 1,000 damage on the Shadow Fiend, you're going to be able to clean that one up. Do they even go for the Megas? Right now, they're kind of looking for tier 4s, and with those glaives, you're getting through it pretty fast.
Yeah, and with the creep wave coming in and the Tombstone placement, I do not think they can defend, and neither do NoRunes. As Brad and NoRunes 1-1 series, both these teams not happy, not sad with this turn of events, as neither side moved in position at all. Just a plain old boring outcome of the series.
Yes, Dota was played. That is undeniable. But with the 1-1 split, yeah, nobody really goes anywhere too significant. Although, I mean, their position relative to each other, right, doesn't really change much, but it's still a point for each team, right? I mean, compared to the teams who didn't play today, there's some progress that gets made.
Yeah, and fills out our bracket a little bit more, but yeah, I think draft was just a little bit bad from NoRunes. I don't know. There's the immediate counterpick of the SF versus the Ember. Ember doesn't end up getting moved around at all. We think for a second, because they're banning out carries, oh, maybe this is a DNM SF? No, it's just Kits bullying the Ember Spirit instead. Then you look at the rest of the draft and you realize, yeah, they did just pick Mini Wraith King into Undying. Feels pretty awful still. Yep.
Yeah.
Can definitely tick that box, and then you end up again losing 2 of the 3 lanes, so the game kind of ends up being a wash. I don't really feel like 5RAT ever felt like they were losing in this game. Just too many things ended up going right for them. And then I think after NoRunes kind of botched that first Roche defense, where they had so many things going for them up until that point, just finished the Tesso, almost have the BKB on the Ember Spirit, you lose Roche, you don't finish your items, and you have to play versus this Aegis that just gets completely bled up by 5RAT. It just ends up being too much. So not a great look for NoRunes, but hey, 1-1 split. Again, even though it's not the best look, the results will still stand at the end of the day here. And 5RAT take, again, a pretty convincing victory.
Yeah, very strong from 5RAT. Able to regroup after game 1, and at this point I'm sure everybody's sick of us saying it, but we're going to keep saying it because it's still true. Just don't get too out. Just don't come away from any series with 0 points, and you're still going to be looking just fine. Then you can bet on yourself in the last couple of days if you need to, in terms of upper or lower bracket. So each team walks away with a point. Each team kind of rolling their opponents a little bit in those games too. So really sure what we take away from this other than the fact that both teams are capable of winning a game of Dota, ET, which we kind of knew already, but it's nice to have confirmation. But do want to give you a little bit of a look here as we'll swap over. Here are the standings at the end of today's action on the screen right now. It's still Ravens and the Cut hanging out at the top. Nobody's caught them just yet, but you do see a couple of those teams starting to move up. SG with the 2-0 today have 6 points. 5RATS 1-1 that they just finished also puts them at 6. So they are contending. So too is Wolf Team, right? Improved that record to 5-3 after taking down Felt today. So all of those squads moving into slightly more comfortable positions. Meanwhile, down at the bottom still struggles. Felt 5-man Midas, not really doing too hot. And NoRunes with this win move up to 4, so they're not moving in terms of their position, but there's at least a wider gap between themselves and those bottom 2 teams.
Yeah, and for those matchups coming up, I think you got to look over at SG. Again, they're that team that wants to pull ahead maybe a little bit more here, and especially the game on the 29th, whenever you get to see 5RATFORCESTAFF play again, it's where, again, you have that bubble in the middle where, unfortunately, 5-man Midas, it's tough seeing them all the way at the bottom, but because they are so definitively at the bottom, you have those games just kind of pulling up where everybody has a little bit of a chance here still at making upper bracket, which is only going to get closer and closer as this group stage comes to an end.
Well, swing it back over at us. Hello again. But yeah, that's what the standings look like. And as you say, as we sort of keep going and things solidify a little bit more, that's where it's going to come down to the nitty gritty. And everybody always likes to think of it a certain way, going even into like traditional sports too, where those games at the end of the season or the end of a run matter so much because it determines, if you're one win behind, anything like that. But everyone always forgets, that one game, that one win that you were missing because you didn't win the last game on the last day, well, that could have been a win in the first game on the first day. And the win counts exactly the same as it does on the back end of the season. So every game matters. It's a cliche, but every cliche is at least partially true, ET.
Yes, yes, indeed. But we'll have to see. Hopefully, no more 1-1s. 1-1s are always the sour note at the end of the night. You always want to see somebody get whopped or two good games, but really, both of these games just 33, whatever minute games that were pretty much decided from the outset. But we'll have to see what tomorrow holds for us.
We will be back tomorrow. Same start time as always, 1 p.m. Pacific. So hope you join us. But for now, we are going to be shutting things down. 3 more best of 2s in the books as we are pushing into the second half of this group stage schedule. So thank you all for hanging out, for watching some Dota with us. Hope you join us tomorrow as well. But for now, goodbye and enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you tomorrow.